Good evening. I am Becky Sears. I'm the director of the West Hartford Senior Centers. I'm really excited to have you here this evening. Yay! How many people know about the Bishop's Corner Neighborhood Association? Not enough people. You will learn more before you leave tonight. It's a wonderful group of West Hartford residents who are working very hard behind the scenes all the time trying to improve this neighborhood in West Hartford. So very important group of people, if you don't know them, to become familiar with them. We also put this evening together in collaboration and support from the West Hartford Commission of the Arts, and that is a wonderful organization for you to become familiar with as well. Their mission is to connect places and spaces with art, and so we're very excited to have their support. So this is our first collaborative event, and we're just very, very happy to have all of you here. We have some wonderful artists that we're going to introduce shortly. Before that, I would like to introduce to you Signe Rogowski. She is a member of the Bishop's Corner Neighborhood Association, a wonderful artist in her own right, a retired teacher, and a passionate human being. Good.
Maybe I'll just step out here. This is such a lovely event, really. For as soon as we get this, we're just very excited. Jason in the back is the president of our group, and we have been in existence for a very long time, 20 years. But we wanted to start off today by really congratulating the West Hartford Art League. It's such a special place, run for 90 years, if you can believe it. The perseverance, what people have to do to stick with art, and does it matter? Obviously, in West Hartford it does with the Art League. So let's give them a round of applause for all the work, for all the artists that have been there, for all the people who go to visit and appreciate artists. And tonight you're going to appreciate some wonderful young artists. I know that you will. The Bishop's Corner Neighborhood Association has many different venues, and one of them happens to be art. Jason, we have a site that if you're interested in joining us in this part of West Hartford, our zip code is 06117, which is quite a large zip code, and we could certainly use more people. Community work is really important, and it really does make a difference. Sometimes inch by inch, and sometimes with a big giant leap, you change things. So this evening, this is our first, as Becky has just said, this is our first event that we're really doing with the Bishop's Corner Neighborhood Group, the wonderful Senior Center at Bishop's Corner, and then the West Hartford Commission on the Arts. So we're really pleased to do that, to try to expand. And that's what we really believe in. We believe in inclusion. Something that allows people to come express themselves, try to show what they do in self-expression, and make an evening important for all of us. So if I put my glasses on, I'm going to try to read this poem to you, and then we'll get to Andre for sure. And it goes something like this, but I think it's important. Creative ideas are not only for the few. They may often start there, but once they make someone feel something, they're unstoppable. They blaze through boundaries and ripple through time, bending rules, breaking conventions, pushing back doubt, and pulling us forward. They create bursts of self-expression, grant freedom, and big change. And since this happens, the finest creativity no longer belongs to the few, it belongs to everyone. And that's what we're here for tonight. Creativity for everyone. And I'd like to... Is there anything better than supporting young artists in the world? There shouldn't be anything better. And so if you could just introduce yourselves and in what year you're in, and pass that down here.
Hi everyone, I'm Thomas Harley. I am a senior at the University of Hartford. I'm a major in illustration and a minor in animation. Hello everyone, Kevin Weaver, also a senior at the University of Hartford, also majoring in illustration.
Hello everyone, I'm Gavin Saunders. I'm also a senior at the University of Hartford, and I'm majoring in illustration as well.
This is so wonderful. Thank you for coming. And the special event tonight is Andre Rochester, and I'm going to let Becky introduce him. We're lucky to have him here this evening, and just lucky to see some of his artwork and hear what he's going to say. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Your work is absolutely stunning. It's breathtaking. First West Hartford, then the world. We're going to take you to great places. We're going to cover you on our local television station, and big things are coming your way. It's amazing work, it really is. And congratulations on graduating soon. Yay. And congratulations to your parents and whoever's supporting you. I have a graduating senior in college myself, so I am doing a happy dance inside for many reasons. So we're really excited today to have Andre Rochester here. He is, as you can see, with the slides to my left, he is an amazing artist in his own right, and really carries such charisma, and I haven't spent a lot of time with him. I was on a podcast with him. He's a friend of Sig's from long ago, but in the short amount of time I've had, it's just been really a pleasure to hear his story and learn about all the amazing accomplishments he has made along his route. So currently, Andre is the art curator at UConn, which is absolutely, he's the UConn Hospital Art Curator. Has anyone been to UConn to see? Yeah, it's absolutely stunning, stunning, especially important when you're in a space where you are looking for healing, right? What better comfort to have than beautifully curated pieces of art that have been thoughtfully placed to help. So Andre is a local fine artist, he's a curator and an arts advocate. He's both the program manager at 224 EcoSpace, where he curates exhibits. He oversees the execution of arts events and programs, including the Artists of Color Accelerate Fellowship. He is also, as I mentioned, the art curator at UConn Health Center. He's responsible for managing, and he has expanded a collection of over 2,500 works of art across multiple facilities, and he also organizes exhibits at the Celeste LeWitt Gallery. He understands the impact art can have on a community. Toward that end, he coaches emerging artists, encouraging them to develop their craft with a focus on professionalism and business acumen. And Andre said, art is a catalyst for dialogue that leads to action. We see, we feel, we think, we discuss, we act. Life is a roller coaster of lessons learned, breaking down barriers, and overcoming adversity. So without further ado, I introduce Andre Rochester. Yay!
So this is the part where I'm supposed to picture you all in your underwear and laugh while I'm up here. So I have a smirk on my face when I'm talking. So, I'm an artist. I'm also from Hartford, East Hartford, Manchester, Hartford again. I moved around a little bit. I'm a Greater Hartford baby. And this is my community, West Hartford. You're also my community. So before I get into my speech here, I want to make sure I say some thank yous and acknowledgements. Signe Rogalski and Becky Sears, thank you so much for pulling me into this event and having me speak. I love to talk about art, and any chance that I get in front of a mic, I tend to have a lot of fun. And this is another list of those things that I get to do that give me some joy. So thank you. West Hartford Senior Centers, Bishop's Corner Neighborhood Association, West Hartford Commission on the Arts, the town of West Hartford, and of course you, the attendees. Thank you for having me. So, regarding my education, I studied illustration at UConn School of Fine Arts. Guys, there's a There's some hope for you. I didn't finish at UConn. No, I actually finished with a BA in studio art at Charter Oak State College. Long story to that, but maybe I'll tell you later. I have an MS in organizational leadership from Quinnipiac University. And at some point in the very near future, I will be seeking out an MFA program. So I've been a professional artist for 17 years. I've curated for 10 of them, and I began arts advocacy work about 2 years ago when I decided to fire my corporate job and go full-time into the arts. That included finding things to do around my art. And as I stepped into this new role of full-time artist and arts professional, I started to see some things that the community needed, and I decided it's time to use my voice. And so here I am in the community speaking about how art affects the community. I've served and continue to serve on the boards for multiple organizations, including my current roles as a board member at Weathersfield Academy for the Arts, Hartford Art School Endowment, Connecticut Arts Alliance, and I'm also on the Community Council at Wadsworth Atheneum. I've led art projects and currently run the Artists of Color Accelerate Fellowship, which Becky mentioned earlier, which is a wonderful program. I just spent about 4 hours today talking about that program and its effects on the community. And I'm going to talk about it a little later too, because I can't stop talking about AOCA. It's one of my favorite things to happen out here. In that fellowship, 10 artists are provided an opportunity to work with 10 arts organizations throughout the Greater Hartford region. These artists are paid a generous stipend, and they have business training. They get to attend master classes taught by arts professionals from throughout the region and some nationally. And in addition to that, they get group coaching. So they learn. Then, while they're applying the information in real time, they get coached along the way. It's a 6-month program, and it has proven to be very beneficial. Some of our fellows have gotten jobs. We'll talk about economic development later. In addition to all this program stuff, I also do some work with the City of Hartford. I participated in Mayor Arunan's transition subcommittee for art and culture. And I've also been asked to join the Board of Trustees at the Wadsworth Atheneum as their liaison to the City of Hartford. That's how I'm impressed. I didn't tell anybody. My first meeting is in June. And regarding my art, it's in collections around, let's say, it's in some nice places. I painted public murals located in Bushnell Park, the Parkville neighborhood in Hartford. One of these slides is actually a billboard that I had for almost 1.5 years. It was a really cool opportunity. I painted an evergreen walk in South Windsor, and also the Gold Star Pool House at Goodwin Park in East Hartford, which is also in the slides that you'll see in here. And I'm excited to share that I now have a piece on display for a 6-month exhibit at Wadsworth Atheneum. And you want to talk about community engagement. I was honored to play a part in planning that show. I was asked to be on an advisory council of community members to plan out this exhibit called Styling Identities, Hair's Tangled Histories. A museum exhibit about hair, in which artists' work was displayed that told a story about hair's cultural significance and as a form of expression and so on and so forth, how hair has just been used for many things throughout history. There's paintings there that are like 500 years old. Might be 1 or 2 that are 5. They did a great job at engaging the community. And I have to commend Wadsworth because I have never heard of a community council to plan an exhibit at a place that is basically like the Met. So, you know, I was excited to be on that council, but I am elated to have my painting on the wall, even for 6 months. And I'm telling everybody. For me, art is a tool. As much as it is a form of expression, I've used art to cope with traumatic experiences and get through difficult times. Art making is often described as a therapeutic process. And I'm standing here as proof that therapy works. My therapy turned into a profession. Art is also a means of connecting people through shared experiences that encourage deep thought and inspire dialogue. Art is a call to action, where voices must be heard with visual stimuli to accompany it. I believe that art plays a vital role in developing culture, strengthening community, and uplifting people. This evening, I'm going to be speaking from the perspective of a visual artist, but the full spectrum of the arts must also be acknowledged. Creativity is not limited to brush and canvas, pencil and paper, hands and clay, etc., etc., etc. My craft of choice does not disqualify other creators from this conversation. We have many voices, but we are also one community. So let's talk about the benefits. Number one, cultural identity. Art celebrates and preserves the cultural identity of communities, reflecting their values, traditions, and heritage. It helps communities maintain a sense of belonging and pride in their unique identities. Art tells the story of the world around us. Early humans drew images on the walls of caves using the clay from the ground to communicate with one another, sharing their stories and their beliefs, building community. Today, murals are a means of recognizing people and events in the community, highlighting notable figures and celebrating what makes a neighborhood, town, or region unique. Murals celebrate the people. Murals say something about who we are at this moment in time. They are meant to last long so that people can enjoy them years later, as well as learn something about the history of the neighborhood. Please support mural projects. They're very important. Art is cultural expression and preservation. From the costumes of Carnival throughout the West Indies to that fine Tiffany necklace that says something about your personal style, the art of adornment is an expression of your heritage and culture, your status, and the types of activities you enjoy. Art is a way we tell our story, whether it is through plays by August Wilson, or opera at the Lincoln Center, or your favorite song by Beyonce or Taylor Swift. And speaking of pop culture, you know, the way people rally around their favorite performers is not solely an American pop culture phenomenon. It happens all over the world. That's why they have world tours. It's a common practice that connects cultures, sometimes while showing fanaticism towards the same person. And as a sneakerhead, I can't help but mention, yes, Michael Jordan. For decades, shoe designer Tinker Hatfield helped turn Michael Jordan's Nike endorsement into the foundation of modern-day sneaker culture, something many of us have either participated in or have someone in our family who shares this obsession, like yours truly. Like it or not, having a shoe fetish is now a part of American heritage, and I promise you it started long before Jordan. We just do it better. So why am I talking about shoes? Well, an artist had to figure out what the shoe is going to look like. An artist chooses the colorway. An artist also considers the material required to make the piece. In this case, it's an expensive sneaker. Other examples include gathering around for the horror at your cousin's wedding reception, or the obligatory rush to the dance floor for the electric slide. We know what time it is when the music starts, and most will move to the beat. Let us show a little grace for the rhythmically challenged. Sometime, there you go. Number 2, social cohesion. Art brings people together from diverse backgrounds to collaborate, participate, and appreciate creativity. Look around the room. This is a pretty diverse room. Diverse in age, diverse in background, diverse in profession, diverse in talent, and diverse in talent, might I add. Art breaks down barriers to build bridges of understanding. I previously described art as a tool for connection, and people bond over creative interpretations of notable events and topics of discussion. In my case, art exhibits serve that purpose. I love a good art exhibit, so much so that I've got 2 jobs where I have to plan them. And so do coffee shops, where local artists perform their original music or recite their poetry at open mics. Artists and community members collaborate with one another to develop projects like the MLK mural in Blueback Square, or projects like the mural on Trinity Street right in the middle of Bushnell Park. Community gathers to see thought-provoking and classic productions like the Scottsboro Boys or Raisin in the Sun at Playhouse on Park. They gather for art fairs at the West Hartford Art League, celebrating 90 years, right? Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. Communities across the country come together for outdoor concerts on town greens every summer. In a world so divided by differences, art has the remarkable ability to transcend barriers of language, ethnicity, and background. Whether through collaborative projects, cultural events, or shared creative endeavors, art fosters connections that bind us as one community, united in our diversity. Number 3, economic development. Y'all let me know if I'm going too fast or too slow. Art contributes to the economic development by attracting tourism, creating jobs, and stimulating local businesses. Cultural events, festivals, art galleries, they all draw visitors, generating revenue for the community and supporting local artisans and businesses. Everybody wins. According to the National Endowment for the Arts, as of 2022, our industry covers 4.3% of the U.S. GDP. That is $1.1 trillion. Let's talk about visual arts for a moment. According to the 2024 Art Basel and UBS Art Market Report, authored by Claire McAndrews for Art Economics, that's a lot to say, but I want to give credit where it's due. The United States accounts for 42% of the global art market. Global art sales reached $64 billion in 2023. According to another study from 2022, the arts sector generates $12.8 billion in our state of Connecticut. And that accounts for 4% of our state's economy. This information is coming from the National Endowment for the Arts. We're in a $1 trillion industry that creates jobs for hundreds of thousands of people across the country, roughly 55,000 people in Connecticut. From professional painters, graphic designers, architects, actors, musicians, light technicians, and custodial services. There's an extraordinarily long list of people who either create or support the creation of art in all of its forms. And we play a significant role in boosting that economy. Failing to include adequate support for the arts in state and local budgets is not only a disservice to the community, it's also a missed opportunity for prosperity. Businesses cannot operate without the arts in some way. The logo for one of my businesses was designed by a local graphic designer who also paints murals, designs clothes, and graduated from the University of Hartford. We can't brand ourselves without input from a creative person. We need photographers to capture our good side when we speak to beautiful people like you. Shout out to Sharifa Mason, local photographer and DJ. She's right there. Furthermore, we need engineers, aka artists, who are good at math and physics. We need them to design equipment, develop and manufacture cars that both look good and function. I mentioned the art fair that the West Hartford Art League hosts every year. That event draws hundreds of people to West Hartford for the weekend, and attendees get to view a lot of paintings and drawings, and photos and sculptures, and they may even have an opportunity to enjoy some good music too. When we attend events like this, we're not just having a good time. Our purchases and admission fees, in some cases for some events, ensure the sustainability of the artists whose businesses contribute to the sustainability of the local economy. They also contribute to the sustainability of an organization that promotes local talent and provides a source of art education to students from across the region. Places like West Hartford Art League, New Britain Art League, all of the art guilds, et cetera, these are very important places because they are oftentimes a child's first exposure to fine art. For me, it was Wadsworth. Go figure. Number 4. Art serves as a powerful educational tool. It enhances learning experiences in schools, museums, and community centers. Here we are. I personally believe that students who participate in some type of arts activity, whether it be arts classes or after-school programs or a visiting artist coming every week, they grow up to become better problem solvers, they become critical thinkers and innovators. There is nobody more innovative than somebody who can pick up a paintbrush, a little flimsy paintbrush, and make something beautiful. Art making is problem solving. You got to figure out how to do it. You have an idea. That idea has to become tangible. Sound familiar? Engineers do it. Writers do it, right? Mm-hmm. Your manager does it as well at whatever job you have. There's always a problem to solve. In our case, our problem's pretty. Art making, you have an idea, then you have to figure out how to turn it into something. Wow, I was talking ahead. Access to the arts opens the door for children to be exposed to a world they might not ever have access to otherwise. For example, attending a school like the Greater Hartford Academy for the Arts provides art education to students from multiple communities, ethnicities, and economic backgrounds, thereby exposing them to different cultures, different languages, different perspectives. The time that these students spend with one another in programs like GHAA, or after school or weekend arts activities like dance classes or community theater, gives them an opportunity to network with people with whom they will collaborate later. A lot of the artists out here, especially if you're in your, we'll say 20s to mid-30s, probably went to the Hartford Academy of the Arts and made a lot of your connections there that you still work with to this day. Art school at the high school level is great. Imagine the connections that you make at the college level. It further cultivates local arts ecosystems, and it serves as a resource for future generations to learn from. I'm a product of such programs thanks to organizations like Catholic Charities and Our Piece of the Pie. Arts and crafts activities are fun learning tools for subjects that may have lower engagement and participation. Who remembers book reports by show of hands? You should raise a hand. Well, what if you were 10 and had the opportunity to dress up like your favorite character in one of those summer reading assignments when you presented your report? Sounds better, right? Of course it does. Now you're tapping into your creativity and must remember key parts of the story to accurately portray the character, you're still showing that you retained the information in the book that you were told to read over the summer, but you can have fun being tested on it. I will be 40 this year, and my kid is only 15 months old. It's been a while since I've had a book report, but his is going to be cool. It's also stated the obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. Theater kids get a master class in public speaking and memorization. They learn how to present through storytelling. The singers learn how to project their voice and grab an audience's attention. The musicians will learn how to create an atmosphere, and if they are lucky enough to be in a jazz band, improvisation will teach them how to think on their toes. Number 5. Community engagement. Art encourages active participation in cultural activities. It provides platforms for individuals to contribute to the collective cultural narrative of the community. The purpose of art is to engage. Artists must be made aware of our ability to engage people in other ways that people cannot. How many of you have seen a painting and just sat there in awe of how beautiful it was? That's some part we all have. I'm sure everyone in this room knows what I'm talking about when you have that feeling of just seeing something that is absolutely gorgeous. Imagine what it's like for the person next to you having the same experience. You should ask them. I did a event recently with the Farmington Valley chapter of the Links, and I was hired to teach an art workshop at this event. It was basically a wellness fair, and what I did was a mindfulness exercise, and this was one of their community engagement activities that I had an opportunity to kind of, have fun with a little bit. People don't always make the connection between art and wellness, but this was a chance for me to go in and do something that I love to do and do it in a bit of a different way. And so I did a color theory exercise where we would talk about how colors show up in our lives, what they mean, how they make us feel, how they get people to think using color. And then we made an illustration using the art lesson. It's a simple, 15-minute thing, but you'd be surprised how people are receptive to that type of workshop. And all I'm doing is sitting with you and coloring. Easy community engagement. And to see a child's face light up because there's markers and crayons. You have this boring event for all the adults, right? But to then have a conversation with this child about their favorite color, about why they're choosing colors, getting them to reflect a little bit, and then walk away feeling better than they did when they got there, with a little pretty picture. That meant a lot to have that kind of experience, because I was able to engage people of all ages. But when you're able to get a child to learn how to think more deeply about something, it's a little different. It's a different feeling for me. So I just wanted to say that, because that meant a lot for me. Now back to my speech. One more thing before I move on to number 6. Some of your local tattoo artists have BFAs in illustration. I know a few who graduated from Hartford Art School, by the way. So shout out to Green Man Tattoo, Shamrock Tattoo, and the other shops that are right here in West Hartford. These are not guys who just like to play with skin. Some of them are actually classically trained artists, and you have to draw for a very long time in order to actually get customers. Number 6, community expression. communication and expression. Art serves as a universal language for communication and expression, transcending linguistic and cultural barriers. It allows individuals to convey messages, share experiences, and provoke thoughts through visual, auditory, and performance mediums. Sometimes we just don't have the words. We got to figure out how to say what we need to say. But we just can't articulate it in a verbal manner. Since the beginning of time, art has been a form of communication. Remember those cave drawings that I talked about? From cave drawings to street signs, when we do not understand each other's spoken language, what do? You either try to sign it with your hands, or you're going to draw it on a piece of paper. Because it's a universal language, you know what things look like. And I'll say it again, art is a universal language. Using symbols to communicate is in our DNA. We use murals to raise awareness. We make colorful posters and infographics to draw people's attention to our events. When I'm painting, I often share my work while it's still in progress because I want to know if my message is getting across the way I intended to. Trying to improve my communication while it's in process. I have something that I have to say to you. I want to make sure that you understand it and you see it. Because you can't hear the thing that I don't have the words to say. I do this through social media. And it creates an opportunity for people from all over to engage in my work and talk to me, but also amongst themselves. My expression through art has people discussing something. I'm telling them something, I'm calling them to action. I've become fluent in a universal language that can either divide or unite people. Pictures. Open mics are a great opportunity to express yourself. Maybe you're a poet or a singer and you want to showcase your talent. Imagine what it would be like if local restaurants, lounges, coffee shops, and so on and so forth didn't offer that outlet. How would you connect with other people like you in town? How would you promote your music locally if you have nowhere to perform? When you hear a song, they're singing for everyone, but the artist is singing to a specific audience. When a song resonates with you, it's because you are experiencing something like what they're singing about, or you have experienced something like what they're singing about. Then you get all in your feelings, and you connected verbally, sonically, and emotionally. That's why they call them a breakup song show. It's also why people across the world make thousands of videos of themselves dancing on TikTok. Music knows no barriers. American artists go on world tours all the time, and so do artists from other countries. Now let's take this back to West Hartford. How many ethnicities, cultures, and languages are represented in this town? How might cultural celebrations that uplift those communities unite people through music, food, and other traditions? Talk about wellness. Number 7. Art is therapeutic. I can't say it enough. Because my art began as therapy. Not that I went to a professional and they had me drawing pictures in their office during my one-on-one sessions, but I needed it. And it was there for me. Including art in communal activities enhances the overall well-being and healing of people who live there. Art therapy, I'm talking about formal art therapy, helps people deal with trauma, cope with stress, and create a safe environment for children to talk about mental health issues. Art, especially for me, promotes emotional resilience and healthy self-expression. Number 8, urban revitalization. Art revitalizes urban spaces by transforming neglected areas into vibrant cultural hubs. Street art, public sculptures, and murals beautify neighborhoods, instilling a sense of pride and ownership among residents while deterring vandalism. There's a misunderstanding about street art and vandalism. Graffiti may have its origins in vandalism, but that doesn't mean all graffiti can or should be categorized as such. Graffiti is street art that is often found on abandoned structures that have been vacant for a long time or properties that are in clear disrepair and neglect. Some of it ends up on the side of a highway or on a train or a wall where it should not be, but much of it, the best graffiti art, is actually found in places where most people cannot see or do not go. Graffiti writers often become the artists you hire to paint murals, by the way. You know those ones with that urban feel to them? Like beautifully painted murals that you can see at Jerry's Artorama. Street artists bring beauty to the dilapidated and draw attention to the blight. If you do not want to see vandalized property, the best thing you can do is develop it. Graffiti on a building is not all about lawless vandals messing up property, claiming their turf. If you look a little closer, you'll be able to tell the difference between them and the vigilante using their talent to beautify an underserved neighborhood, because they also don't want to live around ugly buildings. We can't talk about public art without acknowledging that. Although not everyone's cup of tea, graffiti is the impetus for using murals to urbanize suburban business districts. Next time you're in one of those picturesque town centers like West Hartford, Connecticut, ask yourself, what's the difference between that Instagram-worthy welcome to so-and-so town mural and those other letters that were painted with the little hip-hop flair? The medium of choice is often the same. It gives me great sense of pride to be an artist in Greater Hartford who can use their work to show how proud I am to be from here. I'm not a graffiti artist, but I am a muralist. And at some point, both groups intersect, and you can't tell the difference. So before you judge people for how they do their craft, learn about their craft. People are drawn to places rich in culture and history. They seek environments that ignite their curiosity and inspire their intellect. The synergy between theaters and restaurants is impossible to miss. Who doesn't want to grab a bite to eat and maybe a beverage or two while reliving their favorite parts of a performance? Galleries serve as havens for businesses and collectors in search of unique pieces to enhance their living or workspaces without venturing too far. The art offers a communal source of enjoyment. Including artistic endeavors and community investments ensures the creation of spaces that captivate and retain people's interest. People go where the art is. Artists can learn, lost my space. Artists create an environment that births new trends, and the expressive nature of what we do cultivates a certain irresistible energy. Developers look for what artists are doing and go where artists are going. Let's face it, folks, we make things cool. Businesses like trendy locations that attract stylish people who spend money to have cool experiences. We cool. Public art introduces visitors to neighborhoods. It can be used to highlight what makes this location unique. It gives me a sense of pride to be an artist in Greater Hartford who can use their work to do exactly that. I know I said it already, but I'm telling y'all I'm proud to be an artist from Hartford. Policies like Percent for the Arts, which requires development projects to dedicate a minimum of 1% of the project budget to commission artwork from living artists, shows the government understands the social impact of having art in public spaces. Moreover, the importance of supporting the arts economy. We see commissioned murals, paintings, photography, and sculptures of some sort in every building. And yes, that framed photo outside the elevator in every office building that you go to also counts. Number 9, intergenerational bonding. I'm not just talking about arts and crafts activities at your nearest senior center, nor am I referring to becoming a docent at your favorite museum, although those things are very important. I'm referring to becoming a mentor to a younger artist. I'm referring to returning the favor to the older artist who needs some help. I've met artists from all age groups and even co-curated an exhibit for a group of quilters, one of whom was 104 years old. You don't stop creating because you've reached a certain age. You don't start because you've reached a certain age either. Art is for everyone. Now, I mentioned mentorship, so I'm going to tell you about my mentors. I have a couple. One of them's in the room. Stephen, he's in the back. I met Stephen through art. And there was a public art project that I was a part of. The person who led that project introduced me to Stephen. And we've been talking art ever since. I found out that Stephen handcrafts children's toys. It's actually really cool. A whole bunch of moving parts and all that stuff made from wood. I could never do that. But although that's impressive, what impressed me more is that Stephen's a business coach, actually an executive coach, and he hasn't charged me yet. Because I got questions. My other mentor, Stanwood Cromwell, is a local painter in the 70s who was taking me under his wing and has shown me all kinds of wisdom. I've known Stan probably since my 20s, maybe my mid-20s. We have a family connection. His wife attended the same church as my mother. Stan had a son who was an artist. And Stan saw something in me, in my work. And he attended my first ever solo exhibit. And at that solo exhibit, Stan became my first customer. I sold my first painting to a guy who's been my mentor for a very long time now. Speaking of artists supporting artists, I got my first commission during that same show from another artist. And that's what community looks like, supporting one another. Stan has been a priceless part of my career thus far. You know, my conversations with him and him connecting me to a number of different things in the community, different organizations and so on and so forth, comes from me being willing to connect with people who are my elders. Showing that level of respect, sitting down and listening and hearing the stories that they have to tell. It's very important. That bonding experience through something creative makes it a lot easier to do. You don't have to judge one another because, oh, you're old school, or, oh, you don't know what you're talking about because you didn't live, right? None of that matters when you're painting. None of that matters when you're drawing. None of that matters when you're making music. What matters is the art between you two, that shared experience, and that bond that you build through creating together. Number 10, empowerment and advocacy. Art empowers individuals to advocate for social change and address pressing issues within their communities. Through art activism, marginalized groups can amplify their voices, challenge injustice, and mobilize collective action for positive societal transformation. I've talked about murals a few times tonight, and that's on purpose. Murals are trendy right now throughout the state of Connecticut. We see a lot of them in the Hartford area. Murals are a good tool to accentuate the culture of a neighborhood or draw attention to a business. they're also a great way to use your voice. Murals make bold statements. The mural that I helped paint in Bushland Park twice is a Black Lives Matter mural. It made a big statement about a topic that affects everyone, no matter where you stand on the issues. The intent was not about protest. It was about emphasizing that we belong. And we are as much a part of the community as everyone else. The different artists had each letter. Some were group projects. I had the pleasure of working on this mural twice because they called us back to redo our letters because the city loved it so much. The statement was so effective that the city kept the street closed to vehicle traffic for a little over 2 years. And I believe it's still closed. That mural brought people together, and I don't mean just Black artists. See, the letter next to me was painted by a Latinx artist. A Vietnamese artist painted the R in matter. Some were West Indian, and some of the people who assisted were white. The statement was clear in the text, but the impact of this project was evident in who gathered to paint it. Other notable murals include numerous murals along Park Street in Hartford that celebrate leaders who have made and continue to have influence and impact in the Hispanic community. Now I want to talk to you about Art Connection Studio, an organization located in Hartford that works with individuals who have developmental and intellectual disabilities. Art Connection Studio teaches them how to make art and make some money off of their art. It gives them a sense of normalcy in their lives. It gives them a sense of more purpose. It's empowering. And I had the opportunity recently to curate a show at UConn Health Center to highlight the work that they're doing and also spread awareness about some of the work that we do at UConn Health Center with that same population. What I did not know was how big a deal it was to them. So, to my surprise, there were some very important people in the room. Some elected officials and press and so on and so forth who have family members in the program. But more importantly, what matters even more than who the invited guests were the artists themselves. I had an opportunity to talk to some of them. I had an opportunity to get to know some of them and to see the joy on their faces when they saw their work on the wall. And because I have an affinity for this organization, I've also decided to work with them on another exhibit. In July at the 224 EcoSpace on Farmington Avenue in Hartford, we're going to host our Connection Studio. And this isn't just going to be a small display in a corridor. This is going to be in a 5,000 square foot multi-purpose event space where everyone who participates in that program will have an opportunity to show off their artwork. And it will be on display for 3 months. Artists have challenged the status quo throughout history. It's a part of our job. We are supposed to question things that are not right and inspire people to do something to make the world a better place. Songs like We Are the World and concerts for world peace are part of it too. Whether we're trying to persuade you to end world hunger or end a war, artists in every community understand that at some point it will become our duty to give voice to the voiceless, to make statements when words are not enough, to use our talents to cultivate an environment for uncomfortable but necessary conversations that can push us in the direction of social progress. Communities unite through artistic expression. James Brown could calm a riot. John Lennon could unite the masses behind an effort to stop a war overseas. Ai Weiwei continues to fight for human rights. Art inspires change, empowering people to stand up and be acknowledged. Art reflects the times. How do you want to be remembered? And before you answer that, consider that art, visual, performing, literary, or otherwise, will be around for generations to come. The story we create now will be the history our great-great-grandchildren will research later. Art is our legacy. We learn about ancient cultures through artifacts like textiles and pottery, and of course through the visual art they left behind. Let our story be one that shows our communities evolved, how people have come together for the advancement of society. However you contribute, I urge you to make sure your chapter has a joyful conclusion. Artists are custodians of creativity. We have an obligation to preserve our culture and heritage. We are here as storytellers, teachers, thinkers, catalysts for change, and conduits of culture. There are far more ways the community benefits from creativity, but I'll leave you with these 10. Cultural identity, social cohesion, economic development, community engagement, education, communication and expression, wellness, urban revitalization, intergenerational bonding, empowerment and advocacy. Art has boundless potential to enrich our lives, unite our community, and inspire a brighter future for us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for just a wonderful presentation and really a lot of thinking. And here are 3 young men who are artists, and they're on the verge of right now leaving the University of Hartford, right, for their new career. Can you give them some advice that you think would be helpful in their pursuit of art as a means for their expression and their livelihood?
Most important thing that I can say to any younger artist is it's your job to create. It's a job you can't quit. You can try. I'm just going to call you back. Things will not always be easy. The life of an artist is not necessarily an easy one. But that does not mean you have to be a starving artist. You have the entire world in your pocket. You can go on the internet and sell your art. You can go on the internet, find clients. You can do whatever you need to do to make sure that you have a business that can sustain. And think globally. Don't just think locally. And the reason why I say think globally is because you can't help as many people as you have the potential to be of service to if you've never stepped outside of your community and learned about how others do it. And with that being said, make service a part of what you do. You're in business for yourself, but you create for the world. And when you are in a position to help somebody, like a younger artist, or you're in a position to create an opportunity, make sure you do it. It's very important that you do that. You don't know what people are going to be later in their life, and being a good person pays off. You know, questions?
I have a question. Like, how were you able to kind of diversify your own profession? Seems like I'm surprised we have you here tonight. It seems like you are everywhere, doing everything all the time. Like, how did you bridge from being an artist to being a curator to getting yourself involved in all these different avenues?
So in my other life, before I fired my job, I was working full time and I was treating art like a full-time job as well. And being busy all the time is something I'm used to. It's actually something I'm trying to stop doing because it's not the healthiest. But people thought I was already full-time when I left that job. So it was almost like the clients and the collaborators were like waiting for me. I had a small break after I left corporate America, but it wasn't really that long at all. It was 2 weeks, and then I've been going nonstop ever since, and it's been 2 years now. Having the motivation, I guess, to keep doing this thing that I'm so passionate about until I can get to a point where it's all I do. That amount of work that I had to put in is the reason why I'm able to do all the things that I'm doing right now and be somewhat okay. But like I said, I'm trying not to be as busy because it's really not good. But you have to choose the right projects. You have to choose the things that are going to help propel you forward and the things that are going to be most impactful for your audience. And that's what I'm trying to do now.
How many pieces of art do you create a week, or are you working on?
That's such a hard question to answer because the process is the process. Sometimes I can make 2 pieces in a week. Sometimes it's going to be 4 months before you get a piece out of it because that's just how my creative juices are flowing. Recently, over a span of like 3 or 4 weeks, I did push out 2 paintings. I'm working on a body of work right now. I have multiple pieces going at the same time and a commission. So there's work to be done. Whether or not I finish it quickly, that's another story. But I'm always trying to create something. I'm always in that kind of mode, if you will. My relaxation is in the studio. That's where I get to let out all the stress of the day or whatever. And it helps to love what you do. It really does help to love what you do.
Hi, I have a question. You know, in life to be successful, you're going to come across obstacles. And if you don't push through, you don't really get to that place where you feel like you've created something. And as an artist, I think it's even more true because, not just a starving artist, but to be able to overcome your own inner voice of, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, or I'm not, or whatever negativity comes at you to prevent you from getting a goal. What do you do to push through to be the winner or to be, to win in your profession? And I know there's artists in this room here too, and I'm an artist myself, and sometimes you feel like, I don't know if I can do it. And how do you push through that?
I mean, we're all going to have those moments. I'm sure Picasso had plenty of those moments. I think that it begins with how you talk to yourself about yourself. I feel like in these times, the starving artist should really just be a fairy tale. But unfortunately, a lot of artists starve because they've convinced themselves that they have to. And I'm not saying like they're not smart enough to go out and get money doing something. I'm saying that they often lack the confidence to go ask for the money they deserve for the thing that they bring the most value with. They could be an excellent salesman selling cars, but they might be a phenomenal artist and just not believe in themselves enough. And you gotta look at your skill for what it is. Like, if you're good, you're good. Acknowledge it. If people are telling you something great about your work, accept it.
I'm the president of the Windsor Palm Brush Club, and we have shows, and artists bring in their work, and again and again and again, they undervalue their work. I'm like, I'm not hanging that up on the wall unless you add another $100 to that. And and then they sell it, but it's like, why don't artists have that attitude of, I'm valuable and so is my work, and put the price on it that really, you know what I mean? It's like,
If I'm being totally honest, it takes a lot of time. I used to undervalue my work. And I used to, I used to be the guy who tried to sell a painting for $100, knowing darn well that I put in well over $100 worth of effort into painting. And because I saw other people doing it. I saw other people underpricing their work, and me not knowing that there's an entire market out there, and it will show you that you're undervaluing your work. I was making that mistake. And then I started going to more art shows. I started going to galleries. I started looking at what actually makes it into a museum. Because you know it's expensive when it's in a museum, right? So I'm like, okay, this expensive stick figure over here got into this museum somehow. This black canvas, this all black canvas, just painted one color. One color, that's all you got for me. Probably cost $100,000. Well, my portrait looks real enough. It's worth well over $100. It might not get me $100K, but I know I need to up the ante a little bit on what I'm charging people for the talent that I bring to the table. And that's not to put down the artist who paints the full canvas black. I'm fully aware that they're making statements, and there's an entire history around these movements. I went to art school, y'all. You have to get out there and really look at what different parts of this market look like. Go to commercial galleries. Go to a gallery that's not selling work like yours and see how they're pricing their work. Go to a gallery that has work similar to yours and try to understand why the price structures may not be the same. Go to other communities and participate in their art shows and see the variety of artwork that's in there and what their cost is. You got to get out there. You have to actually look beyond the one art organization that might be showing your work here. Go 2 towns over. Go to another city. Find group shows. A part of it is networking. A part of it is, getting your work out there. But a part of it is also understanding the industry that you're in. Some of these folks are at high levels in their career as artists, and they're showing in the local art show, not because they feel a way. They're there because they're artists and they want to show their work too. And they might not put something that's huge in there because they understand the clientele that will go there. Right? So if you ever go to an art show and you see somebody who seems to be a pretty well-established artist and they're in this show and it looks like they might not belong in the show because of who they are, right? Walk up to them and ask them about what they think about the show, and walk up to them and talk about the work that they put in the show. Because they're going to have stuff set aside for that. Think about the clientele that you want. Price for that market. Have some things that are accessible. Have prints. Have merchandise. Don't do it for every piece because it is going to cheapen your work. But select a few things and see where that takes you so that you can feel more confident when you price your artwork at a level that it's supposed to be, because you're also creating a demand for the one original that will exist. Mm-hmm. There can be 500 reproductions out there, and that's cool. It's a collector's item. 500 people in the world will have that print, right? Only one person in the entire world can have that original piece. That rarity of what you're putting out there, what you are putting on that wall in that gallery, that holds value. And so does the work you put into it. You don't spend all that time selling yourself short.
Thank you.
Did you always know that you wanted to be an artist and let the creativity flow?
So I got my first sketchbook when I was 7. And it was a thing, I tell the story all the time, it was a thing that my dad gave me to keep me busy because I was a kid, I had energy, and he was tired. So it then blossomed into something that would, like I said, it's a tool for healing. It's therapy for me. I had some experiences as a kid that, I wish I didn't. I had to take care of a parent who was sick, and I endured a lot going through that situation. And in coping with the trauma of having to see my parents become a dependent, and the trauma of me having to step up and grow up really fast and dealing with the challenges that come with all of that, I needed an outlet. And so art became my outlet. And I got good at it because I kept doing it. And I just kept, kept drawing. I was setting up still lifes on my dresser and, I'm drawing pictures of deodorant. Now I'm painting people. So I've improved a little bit. But as a kid, I didn't know that it was going to become what it is today. In high school, I made the decision that I was going to make it that way. High school was the time when I realized, okay, this is something I can actually do. And that's when I really started taking it seriously.